Or just put a bad ball out there today?
Yeah, it comes down to execute. Like, you can coach things, you can tell it, but at the end of the day, you go out there, it's like, hey, you got to block the guy in front of you. You got to make the play when it comes your way.
Let's get into what everybody's talking about, though, with offensive lineman Joe Bitonio.
Yeah, it comes down to execute. Like, you can coach things, you can tell it, but at the end of the day, you go out there, it's like, hey, you got to block the guy in front of you. You got to make the play when it comes your way. And I think those things take time. Like I said, it's NFL. They get paid too. Like, it'd be easy to be like, oh yeah, like the walkthrough. It's that easy. But those are great players as well. So I think that comes with reps and that comes with execution and figuring things out. Like today, the run game just wasn't good enough, and we relied a lot on the pass game, which came through for us. But I think the young quarterback, you want to try and control the ball a little bit more, especially in that third quarter.
That's the comment that are getting some people up in arms. Oh, you want to control the ball, especially in the third quarter. Because in the third quarter, that was when Shedeur hit some rough patches. He threw the interception, things like that. And then he turned back up in the fourth quarter. But make no mistake about Shedeur, third quarter is not the reason this team lost the game. Hold on, Joe Bitonio. Hold on. Let me hear you again.
Joe Bitonio just got fired by the Cleveland Browns after his post-game comments revealed that he had been intentionally sabotaging Shedeur Sanders all season long. And what the front office uncovered during their investigation showed this wasn't normal football criticism. This was a veteran trying to derail a rookie quarterback's career before he could fully take over the job. But before we break down the pattern of blown protections that showed Bitonio was letting Shedeur get hit on purpose, you need to hear the exact comment that finally made Andrew Berry realize what was really happening. Because when Bitonio said, as a young quarterback, you want to control the ball more, especially in that third quarter, he wasn't offering honest analysis. He was deflecting from his own failures while quietly putting the blame on the franchise quarterback. G. Bush's vindication after Shedeur outplayed Cam Ward only makes Bitonio's sabotage look even worse. Here's what just happened. The Browns lost to the Titans 31-29. Shedeur Sanders threw for 364 yards and 4 total touchdowns. He led the team in rushing because the offensive line, led by Joe Bitonio, couldn't open a single hole for the running backs all game. And then Bitonio walked into the post-game scrum and decided to publicly criticize Shedeur's ball control. Not the offensive line's complete failure to establish the run, not the protection breakdowns that forced Shedeur to scramble all afternoon, the rookie quarterback's decision-making in the third quarter. That comment was meant to be subtle veteran deflection. Instead, it became the evidence that got Bitonio fired. Let's break down exactly what he said, because the wording reveals everything about his intentions. A reporter asked about execution, and Bitonio responded,
like, you can coach things, you can tell it, but at the end of the day, you go out there, it's like, hey, you got to block the guy in front of you. You got to make the play when it comes your way.
That's a standard veteran answer, taking partial accountability while spreading the blame around. But then he added this.
The young quarterback, you want to try and control the ball a little bit more, especially in that third quarter.
Especially in that third quarter. That's not neutral analysis. That's a direct shot at the one quarter where Shedeur threw an interception. That's putting a spotlight on the rookie's mistake while ignoring the fact that Bitonio's unit struggled for all 4 quarters. And what Bitonio didn't realize was that Andrew Berry was paying close attention, and Berry had already been noticing a pattern all season long. Protection breakdowns that didn't look accidental, run blocking failures that happened too often to brush off, an offensive line that was supposed to be veteran-led, repeatedly leaving the rookie exposed. Now that same veteran was publicly blaming the quarterback for not controlling the ball better, while Shedeur led the team in rushing because the line couldn't do its job. That's when Berry connected the dots. This wasn't incompetence, this looked like sabotage. Within 48 hours, Joe Bitonio was released. The Browns cited performance issues publicly, but anyone paying attention understands what really happened. Bitonio got caught trying to undermine Shedeur Sanders' confidence and development, and the organization finally decided to move on. Now let's talk about the pattern that proves this wasn't just one bad game, because Bitonio's protection failures weren't random. They were consistent, predictable, and seemed to show up at the worst possible moments for Shedeur. Go back and watch the first half of the season. Count how many times Bitonio's man came free and hit Shedeur on crucial third downs. Count how often the interior pocket collapsed right into Shedeur's lap when it should have been firm. Count how many times Bitonio missed his assignment on plays that had explosive potential. It's not random, it's a pattern, and patterns reveal intent. Bitonio is a veteran offensive lineman with years of experience. He doesn't accidentally miss blocks consistently. He doesn't accidentally allow pressure on third and long that often. Those mistakes are subtle enough to be brushed off as errors, but frequent enough to derail a young quarterback's development. The Browns' coaching staff started noticing. They charted Bitonio's performance separately from the rest of the line, and what they found was damning. His protection rate was far lower than it should have been for a player with his resume. His run blocking grades were the worst on the offensive line. His communication with other linemen created confusion that led to free rushes. It all pointed to one conclusion. Bitonio was either completely washed as a player or he was doing it on purpose. And yet still, we come here today, boys and girls, and I set it up perfectly for you. I said, listen, if the 5th round pick that just started his 3rd game can come out here and duel and go shot for shot, play for play with the #1 overall pick, it's done. It's finished. I see the skill set, I see the moxie, I see the talent. Well, what are we talking about the evaluation? There is no evaluation. And if he comes out here, and I played the #1 overall pick with a terrible offensive line, by the way, 4-4-4 backups today. If he comes out here, and I know it, the haters ain't gonna be pulling up. It might be a little naked on the spot today. It might be a little dry on the spot today. And then came the post-game comments, the public criticism of Shedeur's ball control, the especially in that 3rd quarter line that revealed Bitonio's real feelings about the rookie quarterback. That's when Barry understood this wasn't just a veteran declining physically. This was a veteran actively undermining the franchise's most important player because he felt threatened by the change happening around him. So Barry made the call. Bitonio had to go. Not because of one bad game, not because of one controversial comment, but because of a season-long pattern that was finally exposed by his own words. Now here's where it gets even more interesting, because Bitonio wasn't alone. The internal reveal revealed that other veterans shared the same mentality, the belief that Shedeur was getting too much credit, that the rookie hadn't truly earned the starting job, that the organization was making a mistake by building around someone who fell to the 5th round.
We just got a unique team. It's a lot of older vets with a lot of young rookies, young second-year players, so you're getting that, encouragement for the people who've been in the league, been here, saying that, they got your back and this and that. But also, this young class, we stick together. So, like I said, it's next play mentality. You just got to keep going out there fighting.
Grant Delpit's defeated demeanor in the post-game interview wasn't just about losing. It reflected a locker room that knew it was fractured, a team where some veterans had already made up their minds about Shedeur before giving him a fair chance. The Browns are cleaning house. Bitonio was the first domino. He won't be the last. Andrew Barry is done tolerating veterans who would rather undermine the future than accept that their era is ending. And here's the irony in all of this. While Bitonio was trying to make Shedeur look bad, Shedeur was out there proving everyone wrong. 364 yards, 4 total touchdowns, led the team in rushing because Bitonio's offensive line refused to create running lanes, and he outplayed Cam Ward in every major statistical category.
Still, we come here today, boys and girls, and I set it up perfectly for you. I said, listen, if the 5th round pick that just started his 3rd game can come out here and duel and go shot for shot, play for play for the #1 overall pick, it's done.
G. Bush called it before the game. He said Shedeur would outclass Cam, that the 5th rounder would show he's better than the guy who went 1st overall. The media laughed. They said there's no comparison between a 1st overall pick and a 5th rounder. Then Shedeur went 23 for 42, 364 yards, 4 total touchdowns. Cam Ward went 14 for 28, 117 yards. It wasn't close. Shedeur nearly tripled Ward's yardage. He doubled his touchdowns. He completed more passes while carrying more of the offense. G. Bush was completely vindicated, and Bitonio's sabotage looked even more obvious, because if Shedeur could produce like that while being undermined by his own offensive line, imagine what he can do with real support. That's what Andrew Berry realized. That's why Bitonio had to be released immediately. Keeping him meant continuing to handicap the franchise quarterback, and Andrew Berry isn't willing to sacrifice Shedeur's development just to appease veterans who can't accept change. But here's the part of Bitonio's comments that really exposed his agenda, something many people missed on the first listen. When he talked about the run game failing, he said, "We relied a lot on the pass game, which came through for us. The pass game came through. The pass game came through." That's Bitonio admitting Shedeur performed well, that the passing attack led by the rookie quarterback kept the Browns competitive despite having no run support. So if the pass game came through, if Shedeur threw 4 touchdowns and kept you in it, why criticize his ball control in one quarter? Why single out the third quarter interception when the passing attack you just praised was the only reason the game stayed close? Because Bitonio wanted to plant doubt. He wanted reporters focusing on the one mistake instead of the 4 touchdowns. He wanted the narrative to be that Shedeur lost control in the third quarter, not that Shedeur carried an offense with no run game for 4 quarters. That's manipulation. That's a veteran using his credibility with the media to undermine a rookie who can't publicly fight back. And it backfired badly because Andrew Berry saw right through it. The Browns looked deeper. They spoke to other players. They reevaluated film with fresh eyes, specifically looking for patterns of intentional failure instead of isolated mistakes. And what they found confirmed Berry's suspicions. Bitonio had been the ringleader of a small group of veterans who resented Shedeur's presence, not because of anything Shedeur did, but because he represented change, because he's Dion's son, because he carries himself with a confidence that made insecure veterans uncomfortable. So they tried to make him fail. Subtle sabotage that could be brushed off as normal football mistakes. Protection lapses frequent enough to stunt development, but not so obvious that they would immediately raise alarm. But sabotage always unravels eventually, and Bitonio unraveled when he went public with his criticism, when he blamed Shedeur for not controlling the ball, while ignoring his own unit's failure to establish any run game.
That's when it became undeniable. That's when Berry had the final piece of evidence he needed to clean house. And Bitonio's release sends a message to every veteran in that locker room. You're either supporting Shedeur Sanders or you're gone. There's no middle ground, no passive-aggressive undermining, no quiet resentment. You either buy in completely or you get cut. That's the culture shift Cleveland needed. You can't build around a young quarterback if veterans are actively working against him. You can't develop a franchise player if the locker room is split between supporters and saboteurs. Bitonio had to go, and anyone else who shares that mentality will follow him out the door. Now, let's talk about what this means for Shedeur moving forward. Removing the saboteurs doesn't just improve the offensive line, it changes the entire energy of the team. Shedeur spent the first half of the season wondering why protection kept breaking down, why the run game never materialized, why veteran linemen kept missing assignments that should have been routine. He probably blamed himself, probably thought he was misreading defenses, probably stayed up late studying film trying to fix problems that weren't his fault. And the whole time, the issue wasn't him. It was veterans like Bitonio working against him. Now that Bitonio is gone and the organization has made it clear they won't tolerate sabotage, Shedeur can finally play free. He can trust his protection instead of bracing for collapse. He can believe the offensive line is actually fighting for him. He can focus on reading defenses instead of constantly escaping pressure. That's the real impact of this move. Not just removing one veteran, but removing doubt from a young quarterback's mind. And the timing couldn't be bigger. Shedeur just outplayed the #1 overall pick while being undermined by his own teammates. Imagine what he'll do now that the internal resistance is gone. Imagine what his numbers look like when the offensive line is truly protecting him instead of letting defenders through. That's what should have the rest of the AFC North paying attention. Because if Shedeur can throw for 364 yards and 4 touchdowns under those conditions, what happens with full support? The answer is simple. He becomes the quarterback many believed he should have been drafted as. He proves the 5th-round slide was a scouting failure, not a talent issue. He makes every team that passed on him regret it. And Joel Bitonio will be remembered as the veteran who tried to sabotage a rising star and paid for it with his job. A cautionary example of what happens when insecurity turns into sabotage.